Hey.
Welcome, man.
Thank you.
Holy hell, this is truly quite crazy for us. But what's even wilder is the setup you've got for these live shows. This feels like it's a stunt show, live show, music show, all in one. Are you the mastermind that's like crafting all of this?
Honestly, the idea came from the band here, Birdman Band.
Yeah.
They do covers of the songs in our first 4 video games. And they hit something that I didn't really ever expect, that was tapped into the soundtracks to our games that really changed people's view of music. That were maybe more in their formative years. And they were celebrating that. And I thought it was cool. I just thought it was novelty. But then here we are 4 or 5 years later from their first show. And they said, well, we'd like to do shows with you. So, cause I do speaking gigs also, besides skate demos. So we said, let's just combine it. We'll do a speaking gig. We'll play some sets, bring the team. We'll do some skate stuff outside of the venues.
Yeah.
And we're all here. Like my entire Birdhouse team is here.
And you know what's so wild about the music specifically with the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater games? I feel like surely you must know the impact it's had. Like I can literally say to someone, oh, can you put on like some like Tony Hawk type music? And they know what genre I'm talking about. Like
That's pretty wild.
It's its own thing.
Yeah. I think that was one of the most unexpected accolades from the game. And that came really from, I wanted the game to represent skating as I knew it, as I had grown up with it. And the soundtrack to that was definitely more rooted in punk rock and in the 90s into hip hop. But it was more that we have the look, we have the feel, we have the aesthetics, we have the motion of skating. I want to get the sound of skating too. And so I just started kind of suggesting bands to them, and they said, oh, this is great. You know, a lot of the stuff is sort of unheard or unappreciated. And then they have a music department. They have a robust music department, Activision. And so that department was looking for new stuff.
Yeah, right.
And so the combination of that was great, you know, and the newer stuff we're now 25 years on, but talking about stuff like Millencolin and Goldfinger and those types of bands. And then my contribution to that is like the old school punk rock.
One of my favorite things is, you know, like we said, you're totally well known. I'm maybe less of knowing the skating world, but I know who you are, mate. And one of my favorite things is how you tweet when you get recognized. Because imagine being you, like you listening, imagine being Tony Hawk and everywhere you go, people know your face, you're getting the looks or whatever. I want to know if you got an Australian story yet of being recognized.
It's hard to explain. It's basically people will see me and sometimes they recognize my face, but they can't place it, or they know me from my video game era and they don't realize that I might have gotten older since that time.
Like that can't
So
be
it's
him.
like, that guy looks like that guy, but he's
can't
old.
be him, yeah.
Yeah, it can't be him. And so I always see this moment of confusion on people's faces, and then it usually comes out like, oh man, you look just like Tony Hawk. And that happens so much that I ended up sharing the stories.
Yeah.
But now, you know, watch what you wish for, because I share those stories, and now people will come and say it intentionally. So
They're part
I
of the
can
joke.
tell
They're
for the
They're
most
part of
part.
the joke, yeah.
I can tell for the most part when someone's doing it in jest or if they're serious, but the serious ones still happen all the time.
Like, did it happen at the airport or anything, touching down here?
It happened on the plane on the way here.
Yeah, right.
Were they being serious or joking?
One guy was joking, one guy was serious.
The trickiest version of this scenario is when someone goes, oh, you feel familiar, but I don't know. And they're kind of waiting for you to go, yeah, I'm famous. And that's not what you want to
I'll
say,
tell you,
right?
So many times the interaction goes like this. Did anyone ever tell you look like Tony Hawk? And they said, yes, a lot.
Yeah.
And I go, that's crazy. And then that ends right
That's
there. And when I'm with my daughter, especially, she's 15 now, but she's like, why didn't you tell him?
Yeah.
He didn't ask.
He didn't ask?
Yeah,
What are you going to do?
You know, and it feels, it's a weird existence, but it feels pretentious to be like, well, actually,
Yeah,
I am. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
yeah.
And I guess it would probably be better to do that. Like they would feel better about the interaction, maybe.
Yeah.
But sometimes people are just they are absolutely convinced that it can't be you, and it's like, well, prove it.
Oh, God.
awesome. Get the skateboard. Come on.
So when it goes to that, from my perspective, I'm like, I don't want to prove it. I don't, you know, I'm honored if you recognize it, but I don't really care
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
you know it's me or not. especially when you're with that attitude.
We've got some Australian acts here. If we were to release one of your games in 2024, if there was one act from these three that you might think, whether it's you personally would put on the game or if you think suits the games the most, we're going to introduce you to these three. So first of all, this is a band called Betty Rays. They're actually from Brisbane as well, so this is them. Then we've got The Boys. And then I want to throw you a wild card.
Okay.
This is a band called Speed, and this is definitely a bit heavier. So let's get into the office.
Wow.
We're programming the
Okay.
game. What are you thinking?
That's tough. Instinctually, I would go with the first one,
Mm-hmm.
Betty Ray, because I do feel like it's aligned with a lot of the quote newer punk music.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't like classifying music, so pardon me if they don't consider themselves punk.
It's
you
all
know?
right.
They might be offended by Tony Hawk saying that. Sure, yeah.
And then the last one, Speed. I mean, I picture that in there too. So
Yeah, really? You don't
Yeah.
mind getting a bit more
it's
grungy
weird.
with it?
We've kind of through the years, I think it has expanded, but also it's gotten more refined.
Yeah.
So I can imagine that Speed track on one of our first games.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
But perhaps not on a later game.
Yeah.
Because we started. I don't want to say narrow the field, but it was definitely more like, okay, this is more of the sound.
Yeah.
But I mean, that reminds me of like a Power Man 5000 vibe. So yeah, I would say.
Yeah, well, look, love to hear your thoughts, Tony. And before we sort of let you get out of here, you have your podcasts as well. I'm so curious if, when you're skating, do you have podcasts that you're listening to, or do you like listen to this stuff all the time?
No. And when I'm skating, it's skate playlist.
Is that right?
Yeah.
What are some of the ones in rotation right now?
Oh wow! Actually, I was just editing.
Wow! Yeah, your live curation.
My playlist that we're gonna use here in Brisbane.
We're pulling out the phone as we speak. Let's.
Yeah, why not? I mean, I just was adding tracks to it. So
Hell yeah.
let's see. We've got 999, Iggy Pop, Buzzcocks, Devo, The Damned, Alkaline Trio, Operation Ivy, Adolescence, The Chameleons, The Clash, Dead Boys, Ministry, X, Descendants, Circle Jerks, Suburban Laws. That's a deep cut.
Yeah.
Suburban, yeah. I think you guys, we need to bring back Suburban Lawns. So
Yeah.
Let's get
that's
chatting
my-
to the
What's that?
We'll get chatting to the team,
To the
you know?
team for
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
music program.
Yeah, and Idols. I want to put something a little bit newer in there too.
Yeah, hell yeah. We just saw Idols play live, actually. That's
Oh my
crazy.
God.
Well, Tony Hawk, such a pleasure, man. Thanks for coming through.
Yeah, thanks for having me.